Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to viewers and participants from across the world. Welcome to the fourth webinar in the series of webinars of the International Conference of the International Society for Policy Research and Evaluation in School-Based Counseling. I'm Elizabeth Thomas, Associate Professor at Christ University and also Regional Leader of South and Southeast Asia of ISPRESC. Today, we have the fourth webinar in our series of webinars, and it is titled An Online Service for Trainee Counsellors in Response to COVID-19 Pandemic, a description of the service and participating student experiences. This webinar is being presented to you by 4 faculty from the University of Hong Kong, China, Dr. Florence Wu, Dr. Man-Tak Yun, Dr. Queenie Lee, and Dr. Matthew Chu. Dr. Florence K.Y. Wu is a lecturer in the Faculty of Education at the University of Hong Kong. She dedicated her early career as a language teacher and then a researcher in the university. Her frontline experiences have stimulated her to investigate both the macro and micro view on developing the potentials of young people. She is now dedicating her research in teachers' well-being, positive youth development, hope and aspirations, the implementation of a guidance system in school settings. Florence has developed a track record on adolescents' aspiration and hope, positive youth development programs, and leadership trainings in the university arena. Dr. Man-Tak Yun is Associate Professor and Director, Laboratory and Program for Creativity and Talent Development, Center for Advancement in Inclusive and Special Education, Faculty of Education, the University of Hong Kong. He coordinates the MEd course in Guidance and Counseling. His current research focus is investigating links among students' life skills, career and talent development, self-efficacy, connectedness, and meaning in life. In particular, he is interested in how these attributes can be enhanced through school-based counseling and talent development programs. He is the principal investigator of the Jockey Club Play and Learn project. Dr. Queenie Lee is a counseling psychologist and is a professional member of the American Counseling Association. She is also a lecturer at the Faculty of Education in the University of Hong Kong. Areas she is teaching and researching include school guidance and counseling, personal growth, career development and facilitation, and school connectedness. Dr. Lee has a passion for teaching and counseling. She's been attending different professional training programs and is a certified global career development facilitator, certified career services provider, and career development facilitation instructor. Our last presenter, Dr. Matthew Chu, is an educational psychologist. He is the founding member of the Special Interest Group for Gifted Education, Creativity, and Talent Development, the University of Hong Kong. With his professional specialty in mindfulness, positive psychology, and giftedness, he has been invited to give professional training programs for various government departments, NGOs, and professional bodies. He has given research presentations in the annual conventions of the American Psychological Association and the International Congress of Psychology. I'm very happy to welcome all the 4 speakers here today. There will be 3 individual presentations and then an open forum where we will take questions. So without much further ado, I hand it over to our first presenter, Dr. Florence.
Hi, good day, everyone. I will start the presentation and welcome all of you on behalf of my team. And then our topic is an online service for trainee counselors in response to COVID-19 pandemic, a description of the service and participating students' experiences. And for the presentation, we will be having 3, as Elizabeth has introduced, and then we will go into details like this. This is the presentation overview. I will be starting to present the findings of a focus group interview with the counselor trainees, and then Dr. Queenie will be presenting the online counseling supervision, and Dr. Matthew will be presenting the conducting online group guidance program for students, and then we 4 together with Dr. Yun, we will be holding our open forum for everyone, if you have questions, feel free to type in on chat, and then we will be exchanging ideas with all of you. And then, as I mentioned, I will be presenting the findings of the focus group interview. Before that, may I give you a background of who we are? In fact, we four are working as a team, teaching a master program and also a master course for the counseling practicum. And then in the last summer, we were training 24 counselor trainees, and each of us will be taking care of one group. And then you can see that each group will be having 6 counselor trainees. And then they will be undergoing a practicum, and then in which they will be taking care of the group guidance activities. And then altogether, it will be accounted for 18 hours. And also, they will be offering the participants 1 to 4 hours of individual counseling session. At the same time, we 4 supervisors will be offering supervision, both in group and also individual. Sorry. And then for my presentation about the focus group interview, there were 9 counselor trainees among the 24 have been carried out the program, the Life Skills Program, online program, which named as 2020 Life Skills Development Online Program. The rationale of having this online program is we see that there is a challenge of having the pandemic. And then we really want to help to see if we can provide more chances for our counselor trainees to offer their counseling sessions, the group activities online, on online platform. And that's why we have been set up this, we are cooperating with the center, and also we are having this life skills development online program. And then we would like to see the purpose of having this focus group interview is trying to understand the experiences of the participants, the 9 counselor trainees, and also would like to see if there is any suggestions for future development. And then for the focus group interview for the participants, we have sent out the invitation for all 9 counselor trainees, and then we have received 5 accepting the invitation for the focus group, but 1 withdrawn on the day of the interview due to an urgent matter from her school. And then altogether, we have 4 informants in the focus group. And then it was held on August 12, 2020. When we look at the profile of our participants, although there are only 4, the background and also the sharing and the topics that they have carried out on the online program are very rich and very insightful. And then all 4 are teachers. Some of them are primary and also secondary, and also one of them is working on the university. And then the topics of the online guidance program covers personal growth, health and well-being, stress management, and also career exploration. Regarding the online holding online activities, the experience of holding online activities, most of them have claimed that prior to joining this online program, the Life Skills online program in the master course, most of them do not have any experiences of holding online activities. And then only one of them has similar holding online activities experience in her school, and then others may not have that much experiences of holding the online activities like through Zoom or through WebEx or other platforms. And then this is our interview protocol. And also, I'm not going to read all the questions for all of you, but there are two major sessions. For the first one, we will be sharing the prior understanding of the experiences of the informant to see if they have any prior experiences or understanding or their conceptual understanding of online teaching or online guidance program. And for the second part, we will be sharing the experiences of the online program that's specifically designed for the pandemic. Under pandemic, and specifically designed under our master program. And then there are three parts for that. They will be sharing the preparation and the program delivery, and also very importantly, the reflections. And then I will be sharing some very insightful and very fruitful sharing from the participants, from the informants regarding the experiences. And then I have summarized that as the 3 P's. One is proximity, the theme. One is proximity. The second is presence. The third is proficiency. And then regarding the suggestions, there are also 2 P's. And then it's about preparations and pauses. And then this is the 5 P's that I would like to share with you all. And then I will go into one by one. For the first one, proximity, I understand that proximity may be sharing some kind of similar meaning with presence when we look up into dictionary or some of the literature. But I would like to highlight the proximity on online platform. During the focus group interview, most of the participants, most of the informants are sharing their views in comparing the physical guidance program and also the online guidance program. They have shared the reasons why they keep on comparing them, because from their past experience, they just joined the physical guidance program, or they held physical guidance program in their own schools. And they have rare experience or even no experience of holding online program, but just this online program under the practicum. And that's why they keep on comparing them. And then I summarized their sharing in 3 areas for like relationship building, sensitivity, and timely assistance, which are very important in the counselor and counselee relationship, and also the process of the guidance program. And then for the relationship building, the informants share that for the physical guidance program, they thought that is a good way because they can see one another, they can feel one another physically, and then and they will think that physical guidance program would be more suitable for carrying out the guidance program. But for the online guidance program, they have some reservations of that. Even they have tried that. One of the informants has shared that I was much in fear of feeling of embarrassment. And then other informants nodded in the interview. And then I didn't know the participants beforehand. And then it's quite pressurized and distant to start the session like this. And then from this sharing, and then we can see that it is not that easy for our counselor trainee to establish or to build a relationship in the beginning, especially when they started on the online platform. For the second part is about the sensitivity. Most of the informants agree that the physical guidance program will help them increase their sensitivity in understanding the needs or the changes of the participants in the guidance program, especially when they are doing the feeling, the sharing of the feelings, and then it's easier for them to grasp when they could meet one another physically. And for the online guidance program, they see that it's quite challenging for them to have a feel or to notice the feelings. One of the informants has shared that we are not able to observe the nonverbal cues of the participants clearly on screen, and sometimes affect our responses. And then the informants will share that we see that it is not easy for them to look at the screen to understand. Just like now, I'm not seeing all of us here, and then it is not easy for them to see the expressions very clearly, and especially the nonverbal cues, which in counseling means a lot to the process, means a lot to the process, and then they find it is quite challenging to observe nonverbal cues. And for the tiny assistant, only one of the informants has experience of holding online programs, and then she has held it in a hybrid mode. That means it is in a physical classroom, and then having the students using the iPad, and then using some of the applications for some of the activities in her guidance program. And then she shared that it will be easier for her to offer the help if the students or if the participants have any questions on that. But for the online guidance program, they find it really hard, because one of the as one of the informants has shared, in the hybrid mode, the teachers could offer technological support to the students immediately. But for the online mode, we could not offer any help if the internet has broken. And then it seems that the internet or the equipment that the participants are having may be one of the crucial factors of affecting the tiny assistants. Not only the tiny assistants, but also sometimes will be affecting the relationship building as well. Although another challenge is they are facing the switching off of the camera, and then one of the informants has shared that she got a feeling of rejection and helplessness. But when we look at the third presence, especially in counseling, the therapeutic presence is defined as bringing one's whole self into the encounter with clients by being completely in the moment of multiple levels, like physically, emotionally, cognitively, and spiritually. Although in the theme proximity, the informants have shared that they are encountering challenges about the physical presence. But for the emotional, cognitive, and spiritual presence, they have shared some of the ways in the focus group that to gradually enhance the engagement of the participants of their own group, and also they would like to see, they would like to encourage the participants to continue to share. And then one is patience. One of the participants shared that I don't want to force the participants to switch on the camera if they don't want to. I patiently wait for them if they are ready. And then they finally fell for my patience, and they finally switch on the camera. And then I can sense the informant's happiness and enthusiasm of sharing this. And then this is she is sharing a lot of happiness of seeing faces of the participants of her own group, the guidance activity. Another is genuineness. One of the participants, one of the informants shared about that I addressed the participants directly, the skill that I learned from my supervisor, and I shared genuinely with my participants my feeling, even though I didn't see them all on screen. And as I've mentioned, some of them have faced the challenge of the participants switching off the camera. But this participant, this informant, our counselor trainee, shared that through genuine sharing, it is like bridging. Even they cannot see one another, but it's like a bridge to bridge them together. And then this has been built on the relationship bit by bit, step by step, and then finally they can communicate emotionally about the feelings. And then finally, it's about the adjustment. One of the informants have shared that she has changed the activity to draw something, to adjust the program content, and then to arouse the participants' interest. And then out of her expectation, the participants enjoyed. And then they have to turn on the camera to see the drawing of the other participants. And then this is a way, and then this is an opportunity for our counselor trainee to see that, this adjustment works, and also it is the prime opportunity to encourage the participants in her own group to see one another and to open or to switch on the cam, and then so that they can enjoy and they can see and they can read and they can understand one another's feelings. And then for the experiences, the last theme is the proficiency. In the focus group interview, all the informants have shared about the importance of the IT skill in running the programs on online platforms. And then they share that it is a higher requirement on the IT level. And they can see that it is they need some time to explore what it is and how they can manage them. And they acknowledge that the previous, the trainings prior to the practicum offered by our colleagues, Dr. Queenie, and then that has encouraged them a lot to use how to use the electronic platforms or the apps, and then how to manage them. And then the training prior to the practicum is very crucial as a preparation for them. And also, they have shared about preparing more devices themselves, the informants, that is the counselor trainee, the counselor that they are going, they run the program. And then because we are using Zoom, most of the informants, most of the counseling trainees are using Zoom as the platform, the major platform. And once the participants are in breakout rooms, the host could only join one. And then one of the informants, one of the counselor trainees, has shared a way is she has to prepare more devices, and then so that she can log into using her smartphone and also the iPad to see if the participants in other breakout rooms need any help. And then from their sharing, it is, of course, one is the proficiency in the technology. At the same time, I can see that it is the proficiency of understanding the needs of the students by using the IT. And then which is we really want to strengthen our counselor trainees, not only using the technology, but how to use the technology to understand the needs. And then this sharing by having more devices, this is not only about the hardware, it is more important about the humanware, because the informant accountant trainee would like to help and cater the needs of all the participants by using the devices. And lastly, it's about the suggestions. And I'm still using the P. This is an interesting finding of the focus group interview, because when I'm trying to code, and then it comes to me a lot of P's word. Okay, the word started with the P, and then the suggestion is about the preparation. I think the suggestion is for our future development and also how to run the online guidance program more effectively and also to cater or to better cater the needs of the participants. One, for our future, maybe a suggestion or way or an area for to concern is about the psychological preparation of our counselor trainee. Not only, I just quoted one, but in the focus group interview, the informants have shared their worries, their nervousness, and anxieties of running online program, which is really new to them, especially on guidance program. And then they share frankly that we understand and accept the change, but we need some time to better prepare ourselves as a role of counselor on online platforms. As I've mentioned, they acknowledge the prior training before the practicum. At the same time, I guess, while we are equipping them for the use of the applications, at the same time, they need some psychological preparation as well. Another suggestion would be pre-program interview. As the proximity has articulated the theme, proximity has articulated, the informants, the counselor trainee found that it is quite difficult to establish or to build a relationship in the beginning as we use Zoom or we use the online platform. If they can hold a pre-program interview, and then they can have a better understanding of the participants' needs, and also they can know the participants beforehand. Another suggestion or an insight drawn from the interview, the focus group interview, which is the pauses. And then I coded it as the pause and breathe. As one of the informants, one of the counselor trainees has shared that when I stopped for a while and I noticed that, oh, the differences may help me go further. And this is how they pause themselves in the, I don't mean that they pause themselves in the middle of carrying on the guidance program, but they pause a little bit and then breathe, take a breath, and then to look at what they have experienced, and then they adjusted, they shared, and also they accepted the change, and also they see the challenges or differences as an opportunity for them to go further. And then I guess pauses and or chances to take a deep breath is crucial for them to carry on under that anxious or very nervous feeling about holding online or their very first time holding online counseling session. Another is about peer support. I categorize that as pauses because they are not only talking about how to enhance the program, but for the peer support, they offer the collegial support in their group And also they focus more on what we can do together, rather than what I can do or I was left alone in that in the screen or in that group. But they focus on we, and then this peer support is very important for them. And then I guess that will be a very enlightening point for us to see how we can help our counselor trainees in the future when they are doing practicum. And then for the peer support is to enhance the peer support will help them. And lastly, when I was summarizing the findings of the interview, the focus group interview, I can feel that our counselor trainees are like servers, The high tides or the waves came very suddenly, or came quite high, quite loud, and quite big to them, just like the pandemic. Okay, they are like servers. They serve on the wave and trying to see how to help. And then, as one of the informants has mentioned, and then they accept. Okay, they know, they understand there is a need to change. And then it is not only by chance, their life gets better because they know the change, and they are willing to change the format of holding a guidance program or guidance activities on the online platform. And they serve for the high tides, and also they are resilient in facing that. And then this is how this is my presentation. And also they have mentioned a very important role, which is the supervision, the supervisor's role. And then this is, let's welcome Dr. Queenie Lee to present the role of the supervision in our program. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Thanks to Dr. Florence Wu for sharing with us the findings from the focus group with a lot of P's, each with its distinctive meaning, okay? And it's really, really fruitful to hear from the student counselors, trainees, okay? All right, so I will be, sharing my PowerPoint, okay? Okay, so the topic I'm sharing is online counseling supervision, a counselor educator's experience during COVID-19. Okay, so I actually chose this background deliberately because I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful in a sense that, you can see the sun's ray in the background. And the sun's ray reminds me, when I was preparing for this webinar, okay, the ray of hope we all need during COVID-19. And I think actually when we were doing counseling supervision, we are also instilling a ray of hope for our student counselors. And hopefully they are also instilling hope for the clients they were serving when they were doing their practicum. Okay, so I would like to begin my sharing with, the theoretical framework that I was using that guide my supervision work. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you know this person, okay, Carl Rogers. I was trained in humanistic counseling, okay, when I received my counseling training some good years ago. And then the core conditions, okay, which are unconditional positive regards, empathy, and congruence, were actually, guiding my work. I was bearing all these things in mind when I was doing supervision with my students, okay? So these are conditions for therapeutic changes, and I also think that these are the conditions for students to learn effectively, especially for student counselors. Dr. Florence will have talked about our practicum requirements, so I'll just, go through it very quickly again in case you miss it. The practicum at HKU actually requires our student counselors to design and conduct a guidance program for a group of participants of about 6 to 8 people for 18 hours in total. So they are advised to maybe to run the session for 4 times. So each time it may be, 2 to 3 hours. So for approximately 18 hours. And then for the 8 or 6 people they were serving in a group guidance program, we expect them to meet the client, each of them individually, so they can practice the micro-counseling skills they have learned from our course and also other courses. For example, the one taught by Dr. Matthew Chu on micro-counseling skills. Okay, so this is the course requirement. The challenge for our students were actually, before COVID-19, they think that to design and run a guidance program is actually quite challenging for them. So not to mention during COVID-19 that they have to do it on Zoom. So a lot of them expressed great worries and anxieties where they know that they are delivering the program online. Okay? So Dr. Man Tak Yuen, Dr. Florence Wu, Dr. Matthew Chu, and I talk about what we can do to help our students. And then we actually came up with, 2 webinars in April and also in May, okay, to prepare our students better. So let me show you what we were doing. In April, okay, so Dr. Man Tak Yuen and myself were conducting a webinar, and then the focus was how we can, use online apps, okay, to do guidance programs. So in the webinar, I introduced some of the apps I was using when I was teaching undergraduate and also postgraduate students, okay, which were quite effective. So the online apps included, if you were interested, like Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Form, and Google Jamboard, and also some other apps like Padlet, Mentimeter, and also Nearport. All right, so I showed the participants how to use these apps so that they may choose to use these apps when they were running their guidance program with their clients. And then 1 month later, Dr. Florence Wu also gave a webinar, and she talked about how students can pay attention to things like the etiquette, being a counselor, and when they run the guidance program, what are some of the important ethical issues, and also how they can handle boundary issues, okay, in a real counseling setting and also in a Zoom setting. And students expressed that they feel far more confident after hearing from us, and they feel that they are better prepared for the challenges that are upcoming, okay, when they have to run the guidance program. So when I was doing the supervision with my group of students, and actually each of us were teaching or supervising 6 students. And this year, I was actually supervising 6 young ladies. 3 of them were from mainland China, and 3 of them were from Hong Kong and Macau, okay? So in terms of age, they were quite similar. And I feel myself very blessed because I have a group of, very docile, very helpful, ladies who work so collaboratively together, okay, in a group supervision. When I was actually designing how I'm running my group supervision, I adopted, Tuxman stages of group development. So I did not tell my participants, but I just know that in the 2 months during the supervision, we will be following through the sequence like the formation of the group, the storming stage when there might be conflicts among the group members, and there may be norming, and then the performance of the group members, and lastly, the adjournment, okay, of the group. Okay. So I would like to share with you what I did in the forming stage. Before the first session, I actually opened a WhatsApp group with the 6 participants, with the 6 student counselors. So before the first session, I type a text for them to tell them what they should be doing for the first session. Maybe you don't need to read every word I type. So I actually highlighted 3 things for your easier reference. You can see I tell them what they should be doing in the first session. Each of them have to prepare a 10-minute presentation of the guidance program. But apart from telling them what they have to do, notice the wording I used. I actually tell them you don't need to worry about the time because 10 minutes is just a reference. So, and also tell them what exactly are the things that they should be talking about when they when they prepare for the 10-minute presentation about the guidance program. Okay, so I feel that this is actually a way to guide them very clearly what they have to do for the first session in a group. And then you can just pay attention to the last, sentence I wrote in a message. I just write, I will try my best to support you. So I think even before I met the students, I hope that my students can feel that I am a very supportive supervisor. Okay, I'm quite, amiable and approachable. So to lessen the anxiety, okay, before the first session. And I must share with you what I received after even the first session with them. After the first lesson, one of the students typed, a Word document and shared with all the other members in the group. This is not assigned by me. I didn't even ask for that, okay? And she actually typed all the learnings from the course, from the first group session. To protect the privacy of my students, okay, so I've just, cover their names so you don't see who they are. But anyway, the student who prepared this actually just reported what each student have raised that was very meaningful, okay, and important for student counselors. So she jotted down every detail. And then lastly, okay, I don't need to hide my name, so it's actually from Queenie. She jotted down what I have actually told the group. Okay, it was not from direct teaching. It was actually, done on a very, dialogic approach. But okay, maybe I don't, go into the detail. But actually, I think these are the good learning from the student. The highlight is, okay, the student actually wrote my feeling before the session. And she wrote, before the session, I was feeling nervous, anxious, and not confident. And she wrote that, but after the first session, she felt enlightened. And she derived joy from the learning. How good. And then she felt more confident about running the design program, for her students. And I really, really feel that it's very, very encouraging. And I know the formation stage of the group is really, really well done because we have set the scene for the students and they feel supported as a group. Okay. So when the session went on, thanks God, this year I didn't see any conflicts in, so that the storming stage was actually absent. Okay, so I'm just, so the group supervision and the individual session just proceeded. And then we just move on to the norming stage when students, just rely on one another and then they pick up the etiquette in the group and they're actually sharing their ideas, collaboratively to share what are some of the things they can do, okay, when they face problems or difficulties when they run the guidance program. So they exchange their views. They express their doubts. For example, one student counselor shared that her participant kept watching her phone during the guidance program and she didn't know what to do. And another student counselor shared that, okay, Dr. Lee and my fellow group mates, there was one participant from my group who keeps on judging other people in the group, so what should I do? And then another student counselor shared, well, one of my participants refused to join any activities, and that participant remained reticent from the start of the session until the end. So what should I do? And then to answer their doubts, I actually, shared. I actually encouraged them to share what they were doing when they faced a similar situation. So there was a lot of, peer learning, because the student counselors share with one another the strategies they were using, which were effective. And then I did not just let them share. I actually would come in and share what I would do, and students would just listen very attentively because they trust our professionalism. They trust our judgment. They trust, the knowledge and skills we have acquired. So other than peer learning, I was actually giving them sometimes some direct instruction, okay, so that they actually feel very assured about, these are the things I'm doing well. And then, these are the things I was not doing quite well. And then maybe next time I can just adjust, okay, and then choose to do another thing based on the peer learning and also the information from the supervisor who is me, okay. So to wrap up on the key elements in online supervision, last summer, I was talking about the three core conditions from the humanistic, psychology, which are unconditional positive regard, empathy, and congruence. And let me tell you how these three conditions are actually materialized in the online supervision in my group. For unconditional positive regard, I think all the supervisors were doing the same thing. We show our great acceptance of our students. We accept where they were because they were beginning counselors. Okay, so we accept their learning needs, we accept their learning progress, which may go to and fro in the process, and we show our great appreciation of the good work done on the clients and also the good work they have done in the group supervision, okay, together. For empathy, I think we were actually showing this by actively listening to them when we were in the group supervision. We also showed our understanding of the students, of their needs, of their concerns, of their fears, of their worries, and also of the difficulties and constraints they may be facing because of the pandemic, and maybe because of the institution or organization they are actually doing their practicum at. Okay, so these are the difficulties that they have to face, and maybe there's no solution to these difficulties and constraints they are facing. Lastly, for congruence, I think that we are actually showing them that we are grounded people as a person and as a professional. We show them we feel secure as a person and we are calm. And I think actually the demonstration of this groundedness can help them, because when they have to run their guidance program, they have to be congruent and grounded themselves. So in line with that, I have been training my group, and also I know Dr. Matthew Chu was doing similar thing, to do some mindfulness practice in some of the sessions. So I hope that, my students can be actually, more grounded physically and hopefully and psychologically. To wrap up on the sharing, I would like to share with you, what some students have written in the end of course evaluation. I actually send them some questions for them to answer. They can choose whether to respond to questions, so there's no consequence if they did not actually respond to the question. There was one question in which I asked them, the supervisor has adopted a humanistic approach in the supervision. In what way do you think the humanistic approach has helped you, in the supervision course? And I have to share with you one of the very, very meaningful and touching writing from one of my student counselors. I don't mean to, use a lot of time, so if you don't mind, we can just go through the highlighted, words or sentences. She wrote, I really appreciate the open and positive atmosphere in our group, where I can freely share my thoughts and don't need to be worried that I may be judged or criticized. And then she said that, the training, the supervision reminds me that all humans are worthy, fully worthy in dignified roles. And I think actually these are so much in line with humanistic psychology, which is what we are preaching and practicing, isn't it? And then she said that to achieve that level of awareness, meaning to remember that every one of us is a dignified individual, requires being cared for, feeling safe and secure in a trustworthy environment, being supported by a community, and being listened to, being challenged and inspired. And she closed her writing by saying, I will strive to meet people with unconditional acceptance, positive regard, and curiosity. Don't you think this is the best thing we can ever ask for, in our student counselors? So I really, really think that, the student counselors have learned a lot and matured a lot in the professional training. And I must thank my team, for doing this work collectively, to bring all the positive changes in the students, both professionally and personally. That's all I'm presenting, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. We'll now move on to Dr. Chu.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I would like to share with you conducting online group guidance programs for students during the COVID-19. Well, I think many of us have experienced the struggles, the difficulties of conducting online programs, such as many students have weak attention, they get distracted easily, they get bored, and they don't have active participation. And all these experiences are very commonly faced by the trainee counselors. So how to overcome all these challenges? Maybe we can learn from the wisdom of these students. Why computer games is so addictive. Many students love playing computer games. They don't feel bored. Maybe we can learn from them. Computer games are so attractive. Why? Because they have very clear goals. They can create a desire to win in the students. And the second thing is, computer game is very stimulating. There's a lot of visual, attracting sound, and they need to move the buttons, press the buttons, very kinesthetic. And also, playing computer games can arouse a sense of achievement. When they start playing, they start with an easy task, and then the challenges is progressively upgrading, and the students enjoy it because they have a sense of achievement. Feedback is very immediate. Once they finish a task, they will receive the results very immediately, very rewarding to them. Also, the reinforcement, it is very powerful. There are different kinds of rewards, such as points, weapons, or advanced powers. And computer games are very interactive. They play with the peers. It attracts them to spend a lot of time. So, how can we transfer the wisdom of computer games in certain online group programs? It may help us to engage our students. First, maybe before conducting the guidance program, like Florence shared, we can conduct a pre-program interview to share with the students about the outcomes, the beneficial outcomes of participating in the programs, and share the expectation with them. Second thing is, in the first session, set the ground rules, set the scene, but do it not in a non-threatening way. Take it as an invitation. Encourage them to show respect, create a very secure, supportive environment, and also invite the participants to turn on the video, of course, on voluntary basis. You take a look at the two pictures, the left one and the right one. What is the difference? If you are the trainer, which participation would you prefer? Obviously, it is the left one, right? When every participant turns on the video, the interaction is totally different. So to begin with, the participants are invited to turn on the video. And each session begins with rapport-building activity, warm-up activity. And can you see the picture? If you are interested, you can Google. There are lots of online ice-breaking activities. This one is the participant shows their feet by taking the photo, using their mobile phone. Reduce the input time. Remember, conducting online training is totally different from physical training. So we have to reduce the time spent on direct instruction, because many students spend a lot of time on online learning in the morning. If we conduct a group program after school, they feel that very easily. So we need to reduce input time. And also switch the mode of teaching and learning, because students nowadays, they have very short attention span. So the strategy is switch the mode of teaching and learning. Sometimes we give direct instruction. Sometimes we show video for demonstration. We do breakout room for discussion. We play games. Sometimes we play music, and then the students do presentation. So we switch the tasks on and off. It will help the students to become more engaged. Game-based approach. Try to arrange competition, because many students love competition. They will feel more engaged if there is competition among them. Give tasks with time pressure. When they are doing activity with time limits, you may also play some music, very exciting music, using visual interesting visuals, okay, the pictures to attract them, okay, give them hands-on experience, and all this will attract the students to participate. Make it more interactive using the breakout room, like from Queenie Share. Make good use of the digital tools like Kahoot, Mentimeter. Community building, okay, try to arrange group activity, okay, give them an assignment, okay, they have to work together to produce something. It will engage them. Reinforcement, give scores, praise, and gifts at the end of the session. And engaging all participants. Trainer needs to be sensitive and responsive to the needs of each participant. We may generous relate one individual sharing to the whole group, okay? And also deepen the learning experience. Give them assignment at the end of the session. Transfer the learning from the group training to the daily life, okay? With practice, okay? And then next week, when they come back to the next session, then they share the experience. So to conclude, how to engage our students on online group training, make it fun, interactive, and give them a sense of achievement, okay? So this is an overview of the strategies of engaging students, okay, through the online training program. Expectation, invitation, the ground rules, rapport building, reduce the input time, switching mode, game-based approach, interactive, community building, reinforcement, engaging all participants, and transfer the learning to daily life. Okay? So this is what I want to share with you. This is the wisdom we learn from our counseling experiences of conducting the online programs.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our seminar. And then there is a time for open discussion. Before the discussion, I would like everyone to think about two questions. As you think about the questions, you can type your answers and response in the Zoom chat, and then we can look at it together. What we have learned as counselor in training or as counselor or counselor educator in the pandemic, that is in the past 10 months. And then what are the policies at school or university level that could better support trainee counselor in the pandemic? Well, when myself think about these two questions, I got a saying that I learned from Alfred Adler. Life is just the same as learning to swim. So pandemics come, and then we just try to cope, and then do not be afraid of making mistakes, for there is no other ways to learning how to live. So that is what I learned when I think back in the past 10 months. I just try to don't be afraid, and then try my best to be the supervisor, or do online supervision or online counseling. And before we share, I just would like to share with you a game that I play online together. Imagine you are a fish or just a baby learning to swim. So this is a fish. So we can do it together. We can swim slowly. So put your hand together. Put your hand together, okay? And then swim slowly. And pause. And then we stop, pause. And then we can swim quickly, okay? And then we can stop, okay? So we can take, in a group, we can take the lead take time to take the lead to stream together. And then somehow another thing we need to do for me is learn that, well, I learned to use the technology, but try to be humanize the technology when we use it in training, in supervision. So there are humor, and then we can share feelings. And then in terms of second questions, what policy? I think it's not just professional supervision. Sometimes students may need some technical advice, technical support in terms of access to the online technology. But also at this stage, I think we need to also think about how to make sure the quality of the online service at the school-based counseling service. That's what I want to share. But it's open time for everyone to share your idea. You can put your idea on the chat, or you can raise your hand, and then we unmute you. You can share your ideas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Can someone read this from the chat room? I can't see the chat.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
There is a question to all panelists. I feel that you all use Zoom a lot, especially college level. Is real-time online teaching very popular in Hong Kong? What about primary and secondary schools? It's a question from Sang Min Lee.
Hello, Sang. Anyone to answer this question? Maybe Florence?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sang Min Lee, for your question. I guess I may say that it's popular because most of the schools now, including the primary, secondary, and even kindergarten, and also universities in Hong Kong, are now practicing the online teaching because of the lockdown, because of the pandemic situation in Hong Kong. And I can see it is not only about the popularity, but it is a need for to cater the needs of the students, because they are staying at home, and then we cannot stop teaching, or we cannot stop learning when the school closed down. And then that's why we will be having the online teaching in the kindergartens, primary and secondary schools, and also universities. And maybe Queenie or Matthew, do you want to add something on that? Or Dr.
I agree with you. Yeah, it is very, very commonly used in primary schools, secondary schools, even in kindergarten. Not just, it is a need. Many teachers are using an online teaching during the COVID-19 period.
Dr. Yun, you have to unmute yourself.
Well, in the kindergarten project I'm working on, that we full Zoom and also face-to-face training with the teachers, and then also parents, that we help the parents to play more games at home with their children. So that seems to be a viable way to have a better homeschool collaboration. And then the parents also can share some of the video of how they play games with the children at home, and then encourage parents to support each other to have more social games at home, and also in the neighborhood parks and so on. Another question? Some of our trainees here, they're now charisma. You can also talk about your experience as a trainee. You can raise your hand, and you may unmute you, and you can talk. anyone would like to from that the participant would like to talk directly? Elizabeth, can you help to unmute them if they want to talk directly?
Absolutely. If you just raise your hand, we can unmute you.
Okay.
Okay, Charisma.
Okay.
Yes. Hi there.
Yeah.
Hello. So I actually conducted my practicum program through my school, and we were originally doing it in person, but then we had to start doing it online when our schools closed down and shifted to online learning. And one thing that I thought was really important was that regardless, I already had all my activities sorted out for my practicum, but I needed to make sure that my sessions could be done whether in person or online. It had to be very flexible, especially during this time right now when we don't know if we're going to be in person or online next week. We have to make sure that whatever you prepare, you can do it in either setting to make sure that everything works out properly.
Thank you. Is Danielle here? Or other trainees who would like to talk? Or school counselor who would like to share your experience? Trainee, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I was actually typing my response to a question that was actually directed to me from one of the participants. So the participant was asking whether I was doing any live supervision with Zoom, and I told the participant that and I guess for the four of us it was more or less the same, that we were doing the supervision, be them in whether they are individual sessions or group sessions, all right, we're on Zoom. Yeah. I know that because maybe there will be some cultural, regional difference. I just read from the chat that in South Korea, in secondary schools, they are not using Zoom. So that's why maybe, the participants raised a question and was curious whether we were using Zoom a lot in Hong Kong. Yeah.
There are 3 questions I've posted in the chat box. Which has come from
There are a few questions. Yeah. There are some questions in the chat box. Apart from the challenges that you discussed, did you find that school counselors found difficulty adhering to the existing ethical guidelines in an online platform, like privacy, confidentiality, etc.? If you'd like to answer that, then I can go to the next one.
I think maybe Dr. Yun and my colleagues, you feel all right, maybe I can respond to that question briefly, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think actually we just told them, okay, whether in physical, group programs or online group programs done on Zoom, or in mainland China, Zoom was not really used, so they were using actually other conferencing apps. The thing was, we actually told them they have to adhere to the ethical principles in the best ways they can. Okay, so actually, I think we are actually instilling some values in our student counselors that, they have no control over the security issues of the apps they may be using. But as a practicing counselor, student counselors, okay, I think they can just, have high respect for the data or sharing or stories shared in the session, and then they're treating and reminding all the group participants to actually adhere to, for example, confidentiality. Okay, just like what they are doing in a real setting. Okay.
Thank you so much.
There's another question. Did any school counselor feel that their roles were getting diluted because of managing many other things, like acquiring technological literacy, due to the lack of sufficient time and more number of pressing issues?
So any school counselor can report about your experience in this pandemic situation?
I can share a little bit about my experience here. So I am actually a school guidance counselor at an international school here in Hong Kong. I work with secondary students, and during this time, especially having to work with students in an online setting, I don't think that there were many issues necessarily with regards to technology. At least in my experience, we are a technology-based school. So in that sense, a lot of our students were well versed in the different apps that we were using already. So I didn't have any issues there in terms of making sure that I'm able to provide counseling support for my students. I think where the issue was making sure that I can still reach out to students. So because of the online setting and being in an online environment, what we struggled was more, how can we make sure students are not checking their emails all the time? So how can we make sure that we can book that appointment to go see them and whatnot? And it just seemed like we needed to be more diligent, maybe contacting teachers, telling teachers to remind them, can you let this student know that I would like to meet with them after school, and then making sure that we actually set those appointments and stick to them. So it's more just making sure that we can always reach out to students and connecting with them. I don't think that it caused any more issues than what I would have had in person. I think it's just more making sure that you're on the ball, that you're keeping everything on track, you're following a schedule, and that will help to make sure that the students are on track as well as you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's one more question. How do you suggest that the school counselors practice or encourage the we mode rather than an individualistic approach to the school counseling process itself?
Matthew, do you have some experience on that? Because you are also working in school.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Elaborate the question about...
Sure. How do you suggest that the school counselors practice or encourage the we mode rather than an individualistic approach to the school counseling process itself?
Yeah, Matthew, it's in the chat function. You may open the chat and find question number 3 there.
So does it, we mode is a group? You mean the group?
Yes, I mean the group. It was mentioned that if the school counseling trainees could, they were more encouraged to practice being there for each other. So if you could just elaborate on that, that will be very helpful in our cultural context.
Yes, in our practicum, we require the trainee counselor to organize a group. So through this group, they get to know the student, and then they may support some of the students individually. So the starting point is to have a group and help the student to support each other, learn from each other. And then if some students need more individual support, then this is individual counseling. Yes. So we encourage the group format and peer support.
Yeah, and maybe I can just, supplement, a bit. I think actually the focus of our practicum we would like our students to try to design and run a guidance program, which was, a group-based thing. So I don't know whether the participant was asking about school counseling. Now, school counseling could be different because school counseling is most of the time individual. So, but the focus of Practicum is we hope the students can first of all learn how to run a guidance program in group. And then when they do one-on-one counseling, we still train them. But the focus of our practicum is the group-based, program that they are running for the school. So we actually place a slightly more emphasis on the group thing than individual counseling in our practicum course.
The interesting thing that is in the group somehow attract the students together, and they create a sense of belonging, cohesiveness, and then connectiveness among the students, and also the student could keep in contact with a counselor through the group. That help enhance in a way the school connectedness through our counseling service.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, maybe I share my work experience. In my school, we have two types of group programs. Okay, one is for developmental preventive, like guidance program, the life skills. The participants do not have any personal issues. The other type is those students participating in that kind of program, which is remedial in nature. For example, some students with ASD, autism spectrum disorder, they are weak in social skills, They come together to join the group. They support with each other how to improve their social skills, So there are two types of the training program. One is more positive, developmental, preventive. The other one is they have individual needs. All the participants have shared the needs, the problems. So they receive the training together like a common groups. So for this part of training, we do not only provide group training. The participants can support each other. They can learn from each other. But at the same time, we have follow-up session, individual counseling for each participant. So this is my work experience about conducting group work. One is for remedial nature. The other one is for preventive mental nature.
Thank you.
We have two participants who've also made some comments, which I will just read out. So Zudan Hu says, for me as a counselor trainee, I found that preparation is super important. I always have plan B, even plan C before each session. And another participant, Jiamin Feng, says, during my practicum supervision experience, my supervisor invited an experienced counselor to demonstrate live counseling experience and share her unique thoughts and understanding on counseling, so we could have a big picture of what counseling was like. That was a very informative learning experience for me. Thank you for those thoughts. Are there any more questions? You could unmute and speak yourself if you do have a question. One more person has said, as beginner counselors, we were trying to form our counseling approaches. So it was important for us to see and explore what counseling of different approaches are like through demonstration. I would be very grateful if the school can recommend some databases of demonstration of various counseling approaches. Would you know any databases that you can recommend?
Yes, question. There's some database where I could see people's Why? No, it's just happening.
We have Lijian Wu and Karishma Murray with hands raised, so they can ask the question.
Hello, everyone.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
All right. Thanks for all of you sharing the presentation. It's a fabulous webinar. So, because of the pandemic, as the Finland, the counselor, I have one question about the practicums of the counselor. So basically, I do counselor, one-to-one counselors. So my clients have a different situation. So in order to provide more professional service, I the individuals, the plan for my clients, basically just, one case for one unique client. So it's kind of a time consuming and a demanding task. You need to plan a lot of things and do lots of the preparation. So my question is, are there any communities so I can rely on, or I can search the help for the communities for, some resources such as the materials and the case analyze for me for reference. And this helped me a lot to reduce the amount of workload. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the resources you can draw from is becoming maybe a student member of the American Counseling Association. So I think this is one of the most established organizations in relation to counseling. And I'm not sure whether you will be able to find materials, to use readily, but I'm sure you will find a lot of resources, right, and a lot of from their publications and as well as from their website. You'll be able to find a lot of information and resources, and also books that they are actually promoting to help counselors of all stages in the professional development.
Okay, thank you.
At least it's not Tom this time.
Charisma, your hand is raised. Would you like to say something?
Oh, I didn't realize my hand was raised. Sorry, I didn't see it. A lot of we don't have any specific questions. What I've found with resources is, I think it depends on the situation that I am in. So if depending on the student and what their issue is and what they're expressing to me, that's based on that, I would need to then do research on how I can help them, or what are some resources I can use to find for them. So in that way, it's hard to kind of put everything together into a specific database unless I've already been working with students in that sense.
I would like to respond to the previous question about different counseling approaches. I remember when I was trained as a trainee psychologist, we were taught a lot of different approaches of psychotherapy, counseling skills, and I find that certain types of approaches are very attractive to me, especially mindfulness. But when I practice it, when I provide counseling to my students, I will remind myself that adopt eclectic approach. That means what is beneficial to your clients, adopt that one. If I just focus on my favorite approach, this is therapy-centered. But when I focus on my clients, their needs, and I know which particular type of counseling, psychotherapy is more suitable for my clients, and then I will choose or eclectic approach, adopt different types of approach to support the student, the clients. And also, you may make reference to about evidence-based approach for different presenting problems. Certain types of counseling skills or psychotherapy is more effective in treating certain, we call them the mental disorders or the challenges. So trying to adopt evidence-based approach rather than my own favorite approach. We have to match with the presented problem of the clients and the most effective way of treating that particular problems.
Well, welcome everyone to our webinar, and then you can unmute yourself and talk directly to all of us. And we could say thank you to each other for joining us this today. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're kind of reaching the end of this webinar. You should follow us, the ISPRESC website and the YouTube channel. I'm sure this presentation will go up on the YouTube channel as well, so you can follow it there. Dr. John Carey is here as past chair of ISPRESC. Would you like to say something to us at this point? Dr. Carey, are you able to unmute yourself? Yes, we kind of heard you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Okay, I was trying to get in. I actually had a lot of questions. Thank you, Montek. Thank you to your team, to Queenie, to everybody there. It's been a fantastic webinar. It reflects the amount of work that you've been done, and your group actually is a world leader in this type of thinking, in this type of work. So thank you for always being ahead of the curve and always thinking of things months before or years before anybody else thinks about it. And you're a wonderful resource to the organization and I think the counseling profession. So I genuinely appreciate all of your work and your contributions today. And so just thank you on behalf of the organization.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, and thank you, Dr. Carey, for being with us. You're always here for all the presentations, regardless of what time it is for you. Thank you very much for that. If you like this presentation, make sure you sign in to the next presentation, which is again by Dr. Mantak and his colleagues. It's on January 24th, Sunday, again 8 p.m. Hong Kong time, same time as this one. And it's on, the details are put up and you can read that. And we also have another one, which is on February 7th, Sunday at 6 p.m. West Africa time, and that's coming in from Nigeria by Carolyn and Joseph. So do sign up, check out the ISPRESC page. We're on social media, we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, pretty much everywhere. So I'd like to especially thank all the presenters today. I'd like to thank Dr. Carey for being here. I'd like to thank our communications officer, Dr. Tony, who's been working in the background, and for all the technical support that he's provided. So thank you all the participants for being with us today. We've really enjoyed having you here and the meaningful discussions that we've sparked today. So thank you very much. Have a good evening, good afternoon, or good morning.